For centuries, Vienna has been the stage for emperors and revolutionaries, composers and dreamers. It has seen war and peace, love and loss. But above all, it has endured. And today, we step into its timeless rhythm. So, welcome to Vienna, the imperial heart of Austria, where history and elegance collide in the most breathtaking way. This is a city that gave us Mozart, Beethoven, and Freud. A city that once ruled over half of Europe. And today, it's where old-world charm meets modern vibrance. In the next 90 minutes, we'll walk through grand palaces, hidden alleys, and centuries of stories. But we begin where all great legends do, and that is with royalty. Before we step into Vienna's royal past, let's talk about this incredible city itself. It's a chilly February morning in Vienna, but no snow, just that crisp, fresh winter air that makes you feel like you should be holding a warm cup of coffee at all times. Maria-Theresien-Platz isn't on the usual tourist radar, but this is where you see the real Vienna. And it's got a neighborhood charm, small bakeries, and that classic Viennese rhythm. As we walk, let's talk about Vienna. This isn't just any European capital, it's a living, breathing time capsule of an empire that once ruled over 50 million people. It's Austria's largest city, home to nearly 2 million residents, and it's constantly ranked as one of the most livable cities in the world. In fact, Vienna has so much history packed into it that the entire historic center is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. If you're flying in, Vienna International Airport is just 20 minutes from the city center. If you're coming from neighboring countries, trains are the way to go, and Vienna's main station, Hauptbahnhof, connects you to Germany, Italy, and beyond, all in style. And once you're in the city, forget taxis. Vienna's public transport is ridiculously good. The U-Bahn, trams, and buses run like clockwork. Vienna sits in northeastern Austria, right on the banks of the famous Danube River. And the city is divided into 23 districts, but for most visitors, the action is in the first district, also called the Innere Stadt or Inner City, in English. And we will bring you there later in this video, but for now, as I promised you, we will start with royalty. We are walking down a street where emperors once rode in gilded carriages, on your way to one of the grandest palaces in the world. This is Schönbrunner Schlossstrasse, and in the days of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, horse-drawn carriages would roll through here, carrying nobility straight to the palace gates. And this is Schönbrunner Palace. This is the Habsburg answer to Versailles and a real symbol of imperial power. And trust me, the stories hidden behind these walls, well, they are really juicy, so let's go inside. The Schönbrunner Palace, golden in the crisp February light, with a massive Baroque facade that stretches before us, and with its rows of windows reflecting centuries of history. It is the crown jewel of Vienna, as this was the home of emperors, the stage for royal scandals, and the place where Mozart himself played a private concert at the age of 6. Let's set the scene. Imagine then. It's the 18th century. Vienna is the heart of the Habsburg Empire, one of the most powerful dynasties in European history. This very palace was where they ruled, dined, and, let's be honest, probably threw some of the wildest royal parties of the time. But before all that, this was just a hunting lodge, and the land where Schönbrunner now stands was once just a forest. It was just a place where emperors could escape the city, ride horses, and, go full medieval on some deer. But then came Emperor Leopold I in the 1600s, and he had a vision, which was, why not turn this into something grand? Enter Johann Bernhard Fischer von Erlach, one of the greatest Baroque architects of all time. And he designed Schönbrunner to be Vienna's own Versailles. A palace that screamed, "We're rich, we're powerful, and we have a lot of gold leaf to spare." All that was good, but then fast forward a few decades, and along comes Maria-Theresien, one of Austria's most legendary rulers. She looked at Schönbrunner and thought, "It's nice, but let's make it even grander." So she did. And under her rule, Schönbrunner became the extravagant, gilded masterpiece we see today, with 1,441 rooms, massive gardens, and enough chandeliers to make even modern interior designers weep. This is where a young Marie Antoinette was playing before she was sent off to France to become, well, history. Napoleon himself lived in this palace, not once but twice. This was the home of Franz Joseph, the longest reigning emperor of Austria, for 68 years. So, he was basically the ultimate Schönbrunner resident. We are walking along a path with bare trees casting long shadows on the ground. And this will lead us to one of the amazing chamber garden. Normally, when you think of a palace garden, you imagine lush greenery, blooming flowers, and a fairy tale setting straight out of a postcard. But here we are, it's February, and let me tell you, the chamber garden still has this undeniable, old-world charm, even without all the green. Now, don't get me wrong, because I'm sure this place is absolutely breathtaking in spring and summer, but in winter, well, it's got this moody, romantic vibe. The bare branches create these intricate patterns against the sky, the crisp air makes everything feel still, and if you listen closely, there's this serene silence that makes it feel like we've stepped into another era. The chamber garden, or Kammergarten, was once the private retreat of the imperial family. It was a secluded space where emperors and empresses could escape the formalities of court life. It dates back to the early 18th century, when it was created exclusively for the imperial family. Back then, regular folks like us wouldn't have been allowed in here. The palace complex encompasses approximately 300 years of history, boasts 1,441 rooms, with a total floor area of about 17,000 square meters. It is complemented by the expansive Schönbrunner Palace Park, which covers approximately 160 hectares, which is about the size of 230 football fields. And it's so huge that you could get lost here. And I mean really lost. The palace offers various tour options, with ticket prices ranging based on the selected tour. And for detailed information on current pricing and available tours, visitors are advised to consult the official Schönbrunner Palace website. Schönbrunner Palace is one of Vienna's most visited attractions, drawing millions of tourists each year who come to immerse themselves in its rich history and stunning architecture. Designed in the formal French garden style, the palace park features a series of terraces, fountains, statues, and meticulously manicured flower beds. The Great Parterre, a vast formal garden area, leads the eye towards the Gloriette, creating a harmonious blend of architecture and landscape. We are walking towards the Gloriette Hill, and at its foot lies the Neptune Fountain. It is a masterpiece commissioned by Empress Maria-Theresien. This representation symbolizes monarchs' control over their realms. The Neptune Fountain is a grand Baroque masterpiece featuring the sea god Neptune at its center, standing in a shell-shaped chariot with his trident in hand. And to his left, a nymph watches over the scene, while on his right, the sea goddess Thetis kneels, pleading for Neptune's favor on her son Achilles' journey to Troy. Leaving the Neptune fountain behind, we begin our gentle uphill walk toward one of the most iconic spots in Schönbrunner Palace Park, and this is known as Café Gloriette. There are two paths to reach the café, with the main one winding through a vast, open lawn, flanked by neatly trimmed hedges and dotted with statues of Roman gods and goddesses. But we did not take that one. Instead, we took the second path you see here, which is narrower, with tall trees on both sides, and with a more intimate vibe. Built in 1775 under Empress Maria-Theresia, this grand pavilion is perched atop the highest point of Schönbrunner Park and was designed to celebrate the Habsburgs' military victories and serve as an imperial dining hall. Its intricate columns, sweeping arches, and large windows make it a striking blend of classical and Baroque styles. At Café Gloriette, we step inside to escape the winter chill. The café, housed within the Gloriette itself, is famous for serving one of the best apple strudels in Vienna, along with rich, velvety Viennese coffee. It's the perfect spot to pause, sip a hot drink, and soak in the imperial elegance. Standing atop Schönbrunner Hill, right in front of Café Gloriette, we're treated to one of the most breathtaking views in all of Vienna. And even in the crisp, chilly air of February, the sight is nothing short of spectacular. It's no wonder that the Habsburg emperors chose this very spot to build their Gloriette, not just as a symbol of their victories, but as a place to sit, dine, and admire their empire. And speaking of empires, let's dive into a bit of Vienna's rich history, because this city wasn't just built for beauty. It was actually built for power. Vienna's story begins over 2,000 years ago, when the Romans established a military outpost here, called Vindobona. It was just a small fort to defend against Germanic tribes, but over time, it grew into a thriving medieval town. In the 12th century, Vienna became the seat of the Babenberg dynasty. And in the 13th century, the Habsburg arrived, and under their rule, Vienna became the cultural, political, and economic powerhouse of Central Europe. By the 18th century, under the reign of Maria-Theresia, the same empress behind Schönbrunner Palace, Vienna was at its peak, a city of luxury, art, and influence. We are now at Schönbrunner station, waiting for the U-Bahn to Karlsplatz. While the city has evolved, it hasn't lost its imperial charm. And the grandeur of Schönbrunner Palace was just the beginning of our journey. But now, we're diving deeper into the heart of Vienna. Karlsplatz is a blend of old and new, where Baroque masterpieces sit next to modern structures, and where students, musicians, and street artists bring the area to life. But the star of this square is St. Charles Church, standing majestically with its green copper dome and towering columns. Even on this chilly February day, the church's white and gold facade gleams under the winter sky, making it look like something out of a royal fairy tale. Built in the 18th century by Emperor Charles VI, this church was dedicated to Saint Charles Borromeo, a saint known for helping plague victims. Vienna had suffered a terrible plague outbreak in 1713, and the emperor vowed to build a grand church if the city survived. When the plague finally ended, he kept his promise, commissioning one of Vienna's most striking Baroque churches. Inside, the grandeur is overwhelming, and the massive frescoes on the ceiling depict St. Charles ascending into heaven. Unfortunately, we did not manage to make videos to show to you. There's even an elevator that takes you up to the dome, giving you a breathtaking close-up view of the frescoes, frankly a rare experience in historic churches. Let us continue our walk through the streets of Vienna. Under the reign of Maria-Theresia, grand palaces like Schönbrunn, Belvedere, and Hofburg were built to showcase the Habsburgs' wealth and dominance. And even after the empire fell in 1918, Vienna never lost its charm. Today, it's a city that seamlessly blends the imperial past with a modern, artistic soul. So walk with me, and let us discover its charm together. As we walk, we pass by the Institute for Geoinformation and Cartography at the Vienna University of Technology, a place dedicated to the science of maps and navigation, fitting for a city that has seen empires rise and fall. From Baroque palaces to cozy coffee houses, from classical concerts to trendy rooftop bars, Vienna remains one of the most enchanting cities in the world. Next, we come across Palais Archduke Karl Ludwig, a beautiful historic palace named after one of Emperor Franz Josef's younger brothers. It's the kind of spot that doesn't appear on every tourist itinerary, but that's what makes walking through Vienna so magical, and there's history hidden in every corner. This area is part of the 4th district, known as Wieden. Wieden is actually one of Vienna's oldest districts, dating back to the Middle Ages, and originally, it was a separate town outside the city walls. But as Vienna expanded, Wieden became part of the capital in 1850. Over the years, it developed into a district known for its artisans, intellectuals, freethinkers, and of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart himself, who lived there. We took the U-Bahn from Tobstammengesse to Stephansplatz, and as we exited the station, the sun has already set, and the warm glow of street lamps lit up the facades of old buildings. We are now inside the absolute heart of Vienna, and this is where the city's pulse is strongest, where past and present collide in the shadow of St. Stephen's Cathedral. Walking through Stephansplatz is like flipping through the pages of an architectural history book, because the square is surrounded by a mix of Gothic, Baroque, and modern buildings, showcasing Vienna's ability to blend its imperial past with contemporary design. But the crown jewel of the square, with its Gothic spires, intricate stone carvings, and colourful tiled roof, is the St. Stephen's Cathedral. It dominates the skyline and has been Vienna's most important landmark for centuries. This cathedral has been standing here since the 12th century, and just think about that for a second. While knights were out fighting medieval battles, this place was already being built. The interior is a place where history and breathtaking architecture converge, and the sheer scale, the towering columns, and the intricate details will leave you in awe. The interior is vast, measuring over 100 meters in length and 40 meters in width. A central nave is flanked by 2 aisles, and the ceiling itself rises 28 meters high, creating a sense of overwhelming grandeur. There's a mass going on, and that means we can't go wandering inside and show you more of it. St. Stephen's Cathedral is one of the most important Gothic churches in the world. It's been through wars, fires, and even a near demolition by the Nazis in World War II. And yet, here it is, standing strong. But let me tell you, the interior is simply breathtaking. But we'll come back later. For now, let's explore the square. Stephansplatz is a mix of the ancient and the modern, where you can grab a coffee from a traditional Viennese cafe, or splurge on luxury shopping at Louis Vuitton, Chanel, and Rolex. The story of Stephansplatz begins in the 12th century, when Vienna was still a growing medieval town. The area around the cathedral developed into a bustling marketplace, filled with merchants selling everything from textiles to exotic spices from the Silk Road. By the Middle Ages, this square was Vienna's commercial and religious heart, with the mighty St. Stephen's Cathedral standing as a beacon of the city's growing power. As Vienna expanded and became the capital of the Habsburg Empire, this square remained the city's central hub, evolving with each era. We are along the quieter streets behind the cathedral that reveal hidden courtyards, historic buildings, and the St. Peter's Catholic Church. It is tucked away in a small square just off Graben, one of Vienna's most famous shopping streets. The church is a Baroque masterpiece that offers a more intimate, opulent, and ornate experience. And frankly, it is perfect for those who love Baroque excess, golden details, and classical music. The interior boasts one of the most ornate Baroque interiors in Vienna. The entire space is lavishly decorated with gold, frescoes, and sculptures, but the highlight of the church is its stunning frescoed dome, depicting the Assumption of the Virgin Mary, surrounded by angels, saints, and golden light streaming from heaven. The dramatic high altar is a feast for the eyes, and it is dominated by a golden sculpture of the Holy Trinity, and framed by towering Corinthian columns, and features detailed carvings and paintings. One of the best-kept secrets of Vienna is that St. Peter's Church isn't just a place of worship, but it's also one of the most atmospheric concert venues in the city. The acoustics inside the church are incredible, making it the perfect setting for classical music and choral performances. The concerts here often feature works by Mozart, Bach, and Vivaldi, played by talented musicians on period instruments. Unlike the larger concert halls, concerts at St. Peter's Church are more intimate, allowing visitors to experience Baroque music in an authentic historical setting. If you want to experience the church in all its glory, attending a live performance is highly recommended. Because the combination of the golden interior, candlelight, and classical music creates an unforgettable, almost otherworldly experience. The concert is over, and now, it's time for food. Located just next to the church is Vienna restaurant. And it's perfect, as this place serves authentic Austrian dishes with a little modern twist. You know what they say? The best way to experience a city is through its food. After dinner, we take a slow walk down Graben, one of Vienna's most famous streets. Along Graben we come across two striking landmarks, the Leopold Fountain and the Plague Column. Each tells a story of Vienna's history, struggles, and triumphs, making this stretch of the city not just a shopping paradise but also a place steeped in history. But perhaps the most distinctive of the two is the Plague Column, which is a monument to survival. It's a monument to one of the darkest periods in Vienna's history, namely, the Great Plague of 1679. During this devastating plague, thousands of Viennese citizens lost their lives, and Emperor Leopold I fled the city. As the plague raged on, the emperor made a sacred vow: if the city survived, he would build a grand monument to express gratitude to God. When the plague finally subsided, construction began, and by 1693, the Plague Column was completed, and it is a towering Baroque masterpiece that symbolized both faith and resilience. We will return to this square, to show you and to tell you more about it, but for now let us head back to our hotel for a night of well-deserved rest. Good morning, Vienna. It's a brand new day, and we're kicking things off right in the cultural heart of the city. And we just hopped off at Volkstheater station. It is named after the historic Volkstheater, a grand 19th century theatre just across the street. So for today, we're diving straight into the world of politics, history, and architecture. Because we're headed to one of the most stunning landmarks in all of Austria, and that is the Austrian Parliament building. As we make our way down Dr. Karl-Rainer Ring, the imposing white marble structure of the Austrian Parliament building comes into view. If you didn't know better, you might think this was some grand palace or a temple straight out of ancient Greece. The design takes inspiration from Athenian democracy, a nod to Austria's commitment to governance and law. The building itself is decorated with friezes, reliefs, and statues representing justice, philosophy, and civic duty, and just look out for the massive columns at the entrance. There are 24 Corinthian columns standing at nearly 20 meters high, each made from solid marble. Located directly in front of the Parliament building, the Maria-Theresien-Platz fountain is one of Vienna's most famous monuments. The statue of Maria-Theresien stands over 5 meters tall, dressed in flowing robes, and below her, 4 reclining figures represent the 4 main rivers of the Austro-Hungarian Empire: the Danube, Elbe, Vltava, and Inn. The fountain was designed to symbolize the power of wisdom in guiding political decisions, a message that, well, let's just say, is always relevant. The Parliament building houses 183 elected representatives, and you can actually tour the inside for around €10, or even watch live debates if you time your visit right. The interior is just as breathtaking, and there's an assembly hall modeled after the Parthenon, complete with golden chandeliers and a starry ceiling. Before we proceed with our exploration of Vienna, take a moment to support this journey by subscribing to the channel. By doing so, you ensure that you don't miss out on meticulously curated travel narratives, rich with historical insights and cultural depth. We just walked past Dr. Karl Rainer Denkmal, a rather understated monument dedicated to Austria's first president after World War II. It's tucked away in a small park, a quiet spot amidst all this grand architecture. But the next place we will bring you to is not tucked away at all. And now, if you look to the left, there it is, in all its Gothic glory. And right in front is an absolute winter wonderland. Because an enormous ice skating rink has taken over the square, with strings of twinkling lights, wooden stalls selling hot drinks, and, of course, people gliding on the ice. This is the Rathaus der Stadt Wien, or Vienna's City Hall, and looking at this scene, it honestly makes you wish you knew how to ice skate. Vienna's Rathaus is one of the most breathtaking city halls in the world. And with its intricate neo-Gothic facade and towering central spire, it looks more like a fairy-tale castle than a government building. Built in the late 19th century, this was Vienna's answer to the grand city halls popping up across Europe at the time. The design was inspired by Brussels Town Hall, but of course, the Austrians had to go bigger, and with more flair. Take a look at the pointed arches, at the intricate stone carvings, and the famous Rathausmann. This is a 3.5-meter tall armored statue standing at the very top of the central spire. At 98 meters high, the Rathausmann has been watching over Vienna since 1882. The statue was actually made from an old cannon. But the Rathaus isn't just an architectural masterpiece, and in fact, it's still a working city hall. Inside, you'll find grand halls, lavish chandeliers, and miles of corridors where Vienna's government handles the city's affairs. We leave Maria-Theresien-Platz, passing by skaters, market stalls, and historic facades, and we continue our walk along Feberstraße, making our way toward one of the city's greatest intellectual landmarks, and this is the University of Vienna. Founded in 1365, the University of Vienna is one of the oldest and most distinguished universities in the world. And for nearly 7 centuries, this institution has shaped the minds of some of history's greatest thinkers. With over 90,000 students, it's the largest university in the German-speaking world. Now, just across the road, something magnificent awaits, and you can already spot it. The towering spires of Votivkirche, one of Vienna's most dramatic churches. And here it is, Votivkirche, Vienna's twin-towered beauty. And it's hard to believe, but this stunning Gothic masterpiece was actually built as a thank you gift or a votive offering, if you prefer, hence the name. We step closer, admiring the intricate main portal, flanked by biblical figures and angels carved in stone. The story begins in 1853, when Emperor Franz Joseph I was nearly assassinated by a Hungarian nationalist. His younger brother, Archduke Ferdinand Maximilian, initiated the construction of this church as a symbol of gratitude for the emperor's survival. But let's not just stand in awe from the outside. Let's step inside. Inside, the atmosphere changes completely, and the city noise disappears, replaced by a sacred silence that echoes through the vast, stone-carved space. But Votivkirche is also a place of music. And with its perfect acoustics, this cathedral has hosted some of the most breathtaking concerts in Vienna. Imagine sitting here, surrounded by this grand architecture, while the echoes of Mozart's Requiem or Schubert's Ave Maria fill the air. It's an experience you won't forget. One of the most interesting corners of Votivkirche is the Chapel of the Cross, where you'll find a famous Antwerp altarpiece from the 15th century, a real masterpiece of Flemish art. The stained glass windows bear vibrant panels, where the rich blues, deep reds, and golden yellows paint biblical scenes across the walls. And sunlight filtering through creates a kaleidoscope of colors, casting dancing hues on the stone floor. We walked through the interior, focusing on the tall, slender columns, the magnificent ribbed vaulting, and the ethereal glow from the stained glass windows. The windows are some of the most spectacular in Austria, crafted with meticulous attention to detail, telling stories of saints, emperors, and miracles. Standing 99 meters tall, Votivkirche is one of the most striking neo-Gothic churches in all of Europe. We step outside the church, into the crisp Vienna air, taking in the scene before us. Across the road lies the Sigmund Freud Park, a peaceful stretch of green where students, locals, and travelers take a break from the city's rush. Sigmund Freud Park is a popular hangout spot, especially in the warmer months, where people come to relax, study, or just admire the view of the cathedral. But now, it's time to continue our journey. And we're heading back toward Maria-Theresien-Platz, where we'll take a quick detour to visit one of Austria's greatest cultural treasures. Oh, by the way, I told you about the Rathaus, but I might have forgotten to tell you about Maria-Theresien-Platz. It's one of the most important gathering places in all of Vienna. And whether it's a Christmas market in winter, a massive film festival in summer, or just a place for locals to hang out year-round, Maria-Theresien-Platz is always buzzing with energy. Right in front of Maria-Theresien-Platz, and right in front of us, is the Burgtheater, and this is Vienna's most prestigious stage and one of the oldest and most important theatres in the German-speaking world. This place has been a hub of culture, drama, and grandeur since 1741 when it was founded under Empress Maria-Theresia. But the building you see today is actually the second Burgtheater. The original one, located near the Hofburg Palace, was replaced in the late 19th century with this neo-Renaissance masterpiece. It's known as the National Theatre of Austria, a place where legendary playwrights have left their mark. Even the grand interior is a masterpiece, with its grand staircases, ceiling frescoes, and an auditorium that holds over 1,200 people. Stepping back outside, we take in the breathtaking view of the theatre under the Viennese sky, before turning toward our next stop. Here's an interesting fact. While most theatres keep their audience in the dark, literally, the Burgtheater does the opposite. And the auditorium remains softly illuminated even during performances, a tradition dating back centuries. Alright, it's time to continue our journey. Just behind the Burgtheater is the Volksgarten, one of Vienna's most beautiful gardens. The paths near the entrance are lined with perfectly manicured flower beds, inviting us into this oasis. The Volksgarten, or People's Garden, was built in 1823, and this was the first public garden in Vienna, and it still remains one of the most beloved spots for locals and visitors alike. Even in the colder months, when the roses aren't in bloom, the tranquility here is unmatched. But in the warmer months, the Volksgarten transforms into something truly magical, because more than 3,000 rose bushes burst into a riot of colors, making this place a dream for photographers and romantics alike. Right in the middle of the Volksgarten is something unexpected, and this is a Greek-style temple. This is the Theseus Temple, a stunning neoclassical structure that looks like it was plucked straight from Athens. It was built in 1823 as a tribute to Theseus, the legendary Greek hero who defeated the Minotaur. The Volksgarten has a fascinating history too, and this very spot was once part of the old city fortifications that were destroyed by Napoleon's army in the early 1800s. Near the exit of the park, there's another beautiful sight, and this is the Triton and Nymph Fountain. And it's another neoclassical masterpiece, with water gushing from the figures of the mighty Triton and a graceful nymph. As we leave the tranquility of the Volksgarten, we step through another amazing square. This is Heldenplatz, a place filled with history, grandeur, and deep significance for Austria. Right in front of us is an expansive, open square, flanked by the imposing Hofburg Palace on one side and offering a clear, breathtaking view of the Ringstrasse. One of the most striking features here is the bronze equestrian statue of Archduke Charles, standing proudly on his rearing horse. We will come back to the square and the castle in a while, but for now, our path leads us toward another iconic landmark. Right ahead, we see one of the most breathtaking museum buildings in all of Europe. And at first glance, you might think this is just another palace, but no. This is the Museum of Natural History, home to over 30 million objects, including dinosaur skeletons, meteorites, and even the famous Venus of Willendorf, a 25,000-year-old figurine. But what makes this place even more fascinating is its twin, the Museum of Art History. These two buildings are nearly identical, mirroring each other perfectly with their grand architecture. And don't worry, because I will bring you there shortly, and I'll tell you more. Located in Maria-Theresien-Platz, the Museum of Natural History is one of Vienna's most important cultural and scientific landmarks, and it's impossible to miss due to its striking architecture. The museum itself dates back to the late 19th century, and it was built to house Austria's growing scientific collections, which were previously scattered across various institutions. Right across from the Museum of Natural History stands the Volkstheater, a prominent symbol of Vienna's rich cultural scene. This beautiful neo-Renaissance building stands proudly at the edge of the Maria-Theresien-Platz, and if you're a lover of the arts, this theatre will certainly capture your attention. Opened in 1889, the Volkstheater has long been a cornerstone of Vienna's vibrant performing arts scene. The exterior features grand columns, intricate stonework, and detailed sculptures. An imposing structure that conveys a sense of elegance and tradition. The main auditorium boasts a seating capacity of about 1,000, and the interior design is equally magnificent. And golden chandeliers hang from the high ceiling. Right behind the Volkstheater, tucked away on a charming street, lies one of Vienna's most beloved Wurst stands, and of course we had to stop there for a while to enjoy a delicious sandwich. Did you know that the Alt Wiener Würstelstand was featured in Lonely Planet as one of the best street food spots in Vienna? So, it's a testament to its lasting popularity and the quality of the food served here. Now that we've had our fill of street food and enjoyed the vibe of the Volkstheater, it's time to step into one of Vienna's most vibrant and creative hubs, and it is known as the MuseumsQuartier. It is one of the largest cultural complexes in the world, and it is situated just a short walk from the Volksgarten. Originally a Baroque imperial horse stables built for the Habsburg monarchy, the area was transformed into a cultural mecca in the late 20th century, housing museums, galleries, and performance spaces. It's now a hotspot for art enthusiasts, creative souls, and anyone looking to immerse themselves in Vienna's rich cultural tapestry. At the heart of the MuseumsQuartier, you'll find several key cultural institutions. And among the most notable is the MUMOC, or the Museum of Modern Art, and it is a contemporary art space that houses exhibitions ranging from abstract art to conceptual installations. Its sleek, minimalist design is a symbol of Vienna's ability to merge the old with the new seamlessly. Another highlight here is the Leopold Museum, home to one of the most impressive collections of Austrian modern art. What makes the MuseumsQuartier truly unique is the blend of indoor and outdoor spaces. And beyond the museums, the courtyards are filled with open-air cafes, art installations, and sometimes, even live performances. The MuseumsQuartier is always buzzing with activity, from art lovers lounging in the sun to students gathering in the open spaces to work and socialize. Before we continue, let's stop for a second at Museumsplatz, a remarkable part of the MuseumsQuartier. To a festival space with open-air exhibitions, movie screenings, and art fairs. The relaxed vibe here is perfect for taking a break from the museums or soaking in the surrounding architecture. Nestled in the heart of Museumsplatz is a fascinating miniature replica of the entire MuseumsQuartier complex. And this unique and intricate model offers a bird's-eye view of Vienna's artistic hub in a way you've never seen before. After taking in all the art and enjoying the surroundings, it's time to move on with our journey. I've got to ask, are you all feeling a bit tired yet from all the exploring? Do you need a quick break? Maybe a coffee to recharge? Or, if you're still with me and loving the journey, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Oh, and if you're in the mood for even more travel inspiration, be sure to check out our Prague video. It's another city full of rich history and stunning architecture. I'll leave a link to it at the end of this video. Alright, now that we're all set, let's head over to Maria-Theresien-Platz, one of the most stunning squares in Vienna. Remember we mentioned this earlier when we were talking about the Museum of Art History? Well, Now we've finally arrived at the square, and let me tell you, it's even more breathtaking in person. As we walk into this grand space, you can't help but notice the huge equestrian statue of Empress Maria-Theresa right in the center. Immediately, we're greeted by one of Vienna's grandest architectural wonders, and on the right side, standing tall and majestic, is the Museum of Art History. You won't miss it. Look for the Triton and Mermaid Fountain, depicting Triton, the Greek god of the sea, and a mermaid at play. This building, with its neo-Renaissance style, has its facade adorned with intricate statues, large columns, and carvings that echo Vienna's imperial glory. As we stand in front of it, the golden hues of the stone shimmer in the sunlight, and you can almost hear the whispers of artists and thinkers from centuries past. Inside, the museum holds one of the world's finest art collections, from ancient Egypt to the Renaissance, but even if you're not going inside, just appreciating the grandeur of the exterior is well worth the stop. The museum is home to several world-class collections, and the picture gallery features works by the old masters like Rembrandt, Vermeer, Caravaggio, Rubens, and Titian. The museum has one of the largest collections of ancient Egyptian artifacts in Europe, including mummies, statues, and even a 3,000-year-old coffin. Now, as we continue walking across Maria-Theresien-Platz, our eyes are drawn to the central statue, the equestrian statue of Empress Maria-Theresa herself. This statue is absolutely commanding. You can't miss it. Maria-Theresa, the only female ruler of the Habsburg dynasty, sits proudly atop her horse, gazing across the square as though she's still overseeing the empire. Finally, if you walk past the statue, you will come across the Museum of Natural History. This museum might be the twin sister to the Museum of Art History, both architecturally speaking and in terms of grandeur. The building's classical design is adorned with large columns, statues, and those incredible facade decorations that make it seem like a palace rather than a museum. Inside, the museum houses an astonishing collection of natural history artifacts, from dinosaur fossils to meteorites to rare minerals. But again, even if you're not planning to go inside, the sheer majesty of the building is a sight to behold. We also mentioned Heldenplatz earlier when we admired the Archduke Karl equestrian statue and marveled at the historical grandeur of this central square. But now it's time to really dive into the area and explore it in detail. This time, we are entering the square via the outer castle gate, which is actually a grand and historic way to approach Heldenplatz. This entrance, marking the outer limits of the Hofburg Palace, gives you that moment of awe as you pass through its impressive archways, leading you directly into the heart of the palace complex and the historic square. As we step into Heldenplatz, we can really appreciate the connection between the outer gates of the Hofburg, the Grand Square, and the square's direct line of sight to the monumental Hofburg Palace itself. The outer castle gate was originally part of the defensive walls that surrounded the Hofburg Palace, serving as an important passageway for both the royal family and the military. This entrance to Heldenplatz offers one of the best views of the Hofburg Palace, the Archduke Karl equestrian statue, and the vast expanse of the square itself. In front of us is the Hofburg Palace, and it is one of the most iconic and impressive landmarks in Vienna, not just because of its sheer size, but because of its incredible historical significance. As the former imperial palace of the Habsburg dynasty, This grand complex of buildings is the epicenter of Austria's imperial past and home to centuries of royal history. Originally built in the 13th century, the Hofburg started as a modest medieval castle and evolved into one of the largest palace complexes in Europe, with additions and renovations made throughout the centuries. The entire Hofburg complex covers approximately 240,000 square meters. The palace contains around 2,600 rooms, including the imperial apartments, museums, courtyards, and administrative areas. The Hofburg Palace complex also includes extensive gardens, such as the Volksgarten and Bruggarten. We have already the Volksgarten, and if you keep watching, I'll bring you to the Bruggarten later in this video. One of the largest libraries in the world, the Austrian National Library, with millions of books, is also part of the palace complex. You can visit parts of the Hofburg Palace, and it's one of the most fascinating attractions in Vienna. If you decide to buy a combination ticket, which grants access to multiple attractions within the Hofburg, such as the Sisi Museum, imperial apartments, and the imperial treasury, the price will range from 20 to 30 euros, depending on what you choose. Book tickets in advance in order to save time, especially during peak tourist seasons, and it's also a good idea to buy tickets online. If you want to really dive deep into the history of the Hofburg, consider joining a guided tour, as it will provide in-depth knowledge of the imperial family, Habsburg history, and other key historical elements. Flags of various countries fly to symbolize Austria's relationships with them and to mark the presence of foreign dignitaries and visiting heads of state. The flags outside the Hofburg Palace are part of Austria's current international presence as a neutral country, and they often represent global cooperation, unity, and peaceful diplomacy. As we walk past the impressive flags, we enter a passageway that leads us toward der Burg and the Swiss Gate. This passage, with its unique blend of historical charm and modern vibrancy, is a popular spot for both locals and tourists. The passage is lined with a variety of souvenir shops, where you can find all sorts of items that showcase Austria's culture, from traditional Austrian crafts to Viennese-themed gifts. There are also boutiques and cafes, offering a delightful mix of local treats and international goods. As we continue along this passage, we'll eventually reach the Swiss Gate, the main entrance to the Swiss court of the Hofburg Palace, marked by its distinct architectural style. This gateway is a fascinating blend of historical significance and elegance, providing a direct path into the Schweißerhof, an inner courtyard of the palace. The Schweißerhof is characterized by its classical arcades and elegant facades, which reflect the imperial style that defines much of the Hofburg Palace. The courtyard also provides access to several key areas of the palace, including the Swiss wing of the palace, which houses the Sisi Museum and the imperial apartments. The Kapellenhof or chapel courtyard, and the Swiss court are both interconnected courtyards within the Hofburg Palace complex. The Schweizerhof was historically associated with the Swiss Guard, who protected the Habsburg family and the palace. And the Kapellenhof, on the other hand, is closely linked to the imperial chapel and the religious life of the court. As we stroll toward the garden, we pass by a library building, possibly the Austrian National Library. We are now making our way toward the Bruggarten, and the transition from the tranquil courtyards to the more open areas ahead is like stepping from the historic heart of the Hofburg into the vibrant pulse of Vienna imperial gardens. The walk from Kapellenhof to Bruggarten is normally filled with glimpses of Vienna imperial grandeur, with classic courtyards, historic buildings, and quiet paths creating a seamless flow. However, there was some heavy renovation work ongoing, so you are unable to enjoy the full splendor of the area. The Bruggarten itself is a beautiful garden with neatly trimmed hedges, fountain features, and sculptures placed thoughtfully throughout. Stepping into Bruggarten, we're greeted by a green oasis in the heart of Vienna. To our right stands the Schmetterling House, or Butterfly House, housed in a stunning Art Nouveau-style glass and steel structure. It's part of the larger Palmenhaus, a historical greenhouse that once belonged to the Habsburg. And inside, a tropical paradise awaits, with lush plants, small waterfalls, and over 400 free-flying exotic butterflies fluttering through the humid air. Once the imperial gardens of the Hofburg, Bruggarten feels like a world away from the bustling city. Bruggarten is now a peaceful 38,000 square meter public park, offering a serene escape right in the heart of Vienna. Neatly trimmed hedges, elegant statues, and peaceful walking paths make it a perfect place for a relaxing stroll. The garden was designed in 1818 after the old city walls were demolished, transforming part of the imperial grounds into a beautifully landscaped English-style garden. Exiting Bruggarten, we head toward the Albertina Museum, passing by the statue of Abraham a Sancta Clara, a 17th-century Austrian preacher. To reach Albertina Museum, we ascend the broad staircase leading up from street level. As we climb, we pass by the walls of the Albertina, which are often decorated with large posters showcasing current exhibitions. The Albertina Museum is one of Vienna's most prestigious art museums, housed in a former Hofburg Palace. It is home to an extraordinary collection of over 1 million prints, drawings, and paintings, including masterpieces by Dürer, Monet, Picasso, and Klimt. But beyond its artwork, Albertina itself is a historical treasure, blending imperial grandeur with artistic excellence. Reaching the top, we step onto the Albertina Terrace, offering one of the best panoramic views in Vienna. Right in front of Albertina stands the monumental bronze equestrian statue of Archduke Albrecht, perched on a high stone pedestal. The statue depicts Archduke Albrecht of Austria, presenting him in full military attire, sitting confidently on horseback, symbolizing strength and authority. His larger-than-life monument is one of Vienna's most recognizable landmarks and a popular meeting point for visitors to Albertina. Reaching the top, we step onto the Albertina Terrace, offering one of the best panoramic views in Vienna, like the historic RSM Austria building. The building that houses Albertina was originally constructed in the 17th century as part of Vienna fortifications. For over a century, Albertina served as a royal residence for various members of the Habsburg family. However, after World War I and the fall of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, the palace was repurposed. Albertina is a stunning example of classical and neoclassical architecture, with elegant facades and lavish interiors. Today, Albertina is one of Vienna's most visited museums, attracting over 1 million visitors annually. Descending from the Albertina Terrace, we make our way down to Augustinerstraße, a historically rich and culturally significant street in Vienna. This charming street, lined with elegant historic buildings, leads us to one of the city's most unique institutions, namely, the Austrian Film Museum. The Austrian Film Museum is a haven for film lovers and founded in 1964, it is dedicated to the preservation, study, and appreciation of cinema. The museum has an extensive film archive with thousands of rare reels, documentaries, and short films, making it a significant hub for researchers and cinephiles. This is Augustinerstraße, and it offers a glimpse into old Vienna, much like those well-preserved horse carriages, which, by the way, you can still ride on, for a small fee. It is one of the highlights of this part of town, and the sight of horse-drawn carriages passing through creates an iconic image of Vienna that adds to the street's nostalgic atmosphere. These traditional carriages, once used as the primary means of transport for the aristocracy, now offer tourists a romantic way to explore the city. Here, we are also surrounded by centuries-old architecture and elegant facades that reflect Vienna's imperial past. Augustinerstraße is also home to several charming boutique shops and hidden cafes, making it a delightful spot to explore on foot. Before we reach our next destination, let's take a moment to soak in the beauty of our surroundings, where history, film, and timeless elegance all blend seamlessly in the heart of Vienna. Just a short walk ahead is the Augustinerkirche, or Augustinian Church. Nestled within Josefsplatz, one of Vienna's most elegant and historically rich squares, this church is often overlooked by casual tourists, but it holds some of the city's most fascinating secrets. Founded in 1339, Augustinerkirche was the court church of the Habsburg dynasty for centuries. And many imperial weddings were held here, including Maria-Theresie's wedding to Francis I in 1736. The most intriguing feature inside the church is the memorial sculpture that resembles a pyramid, and it is one of the most famous and unique funeral monuments in Europe. It is the tomb of Archduchess Marie-Christine. The pyramid design is highly unusual for a tomb inside a Gothic church, making it one of the most intriguing sculptures in Vienna. Unlike the lavish Baroque churches found across Vienna, Augustinerkirche retains its Gothic simplicity, featuring high, narrow windows, ribbed vaults, and a long central nave that creates a solemn yet grand atmosphere. The organ, located on the upper balcony, is famous for its rich sound and has been used for concerts and royal ceremonies for centuries. After taking in the stunning architecture and fascinating history of Augustinerkirche, we step back outside into Josefsplatz, where we are greeted by another magnificent sight. This is the equestrian statue of Emperor Joseph II. This square, surrounded by imperial buildings and historical landmarks, is one of the most photogenic spots in Vienna. Just behind the statue of Emperor Joseph II is the Austrian National Library and the Grand Hofburg complex, where even more history awaits. Josefsplatz is completely surrounded by ornate, imperial buildings, making it one of Vienna's most architecturally harmonious squares. The white facades, tall windows, and intricate details create an aesthetic continuity, giving the square an elegant and regal charm. Since Josefsplatz is part of the Hofburg complex, it has long been a place where scholars, nobles, and the imperial family crossed paths. We leave the elegant Josefsplatz and make our way towards Heldenplatz, another historically rich and architecturally stunning square. To get there, we take Reitschulgasse, a short street, and the name translates to Riding School Alley, a reference to the Spanish riding school nearby. It doesn't take long before we reach the magnificent Heldenplatz, where Vienna imperial history unfolds before us in grand proportions. This spot is a true gateway to the past, surrounded by iconic landmarks that tell the story of the city's imperial grandeur. On the opposite side of the square, we find St. Michael's Church, one of the oldest churches in Vienna, dating back to the 13th century. Adding to the charm of Heldenplatz, horse-drawn carriages are always lined up here, ready to take visitors on a nostalgic ride through Vienna's old streets. Dominating the square is the imposing entrance to the Hofburg Palace, the St. Michael's Wing, which was built in the late 19th century. Its curved facade, massive green copper dome, and intricate Baroque sculptures give it a commanding presence. But first, let us turn around, and let us visit the St. Michael's Church, because it is often overlooked by tourists who are too focused on the grandeur of the Hofburg and the surrounding squares. But for those who take the time to explore, St. Michael's Church offers an incredible mix of history, art, and architecture. Once you step inside, St. Michael's Church opens up into a beautiful Baroque space filled with ornate decoration, towering columns, and intricate frescoes. The main altar is a Baroque masterpiece, with golden accents, angels, and scenes of saints all blending harmoniously. And the altar is framed by beautiful columns, and its focal point is a magnificent painting of the Virgin Mary, offering an atmosphere of reverence and spirituality. Along the sides of the church are several side altars, each dedicated to various saints and moments in Catholic history. Beneath the church is the Michael's Crypt, a final resting place for several Habsburg princes, as well as some lesser-known but significant figures from Vienna history. The church's interior is made more grand by its tall marble pillars, many of which are intricately decorated with golden capitals. And the marble columns support the high arches that form the structure's framework, giving the church a sense of grandeur and height. Above the church, a circular dome dominates the skyline. It's topped with a small lantern, allowing natural light to stream into the interior. St. Michael's Church is an architectural and spiritual gem that provides a deep connection to Vienna history. Nestled next to St. Michael's Church, you'll find a charming little alleyway that opens up into a small but delightful passageway leading to shops and boutiques. The alley gives off a sense of old-world Viennese charm with its narrow cobblestone path and historic architecture, creating a peaceful atmosphere, away from the busier parts of the city. Above the Hofburg's grand entrance, in Maria-Theresien-Platz, our allegorical statues represent Austria's power and military strength. Through the archway, we can get a glimpse of the Hofburg courtyard, leading deeper into the Hofburg complex. Right at the center of Maria-Theresien-Platz, we see something unexpected, and these are ancient Roman ruins. And as I mentioned earlier, horse-drawn carriages are always lined up in the square, and many visitors choose to take a ride from here, as it offers a perfect starting point for an imperial Vienna tour. Located within the Hofburg Palace, the Sisi Museum is one of Vienna's most visited attractions, offering a fascinating look into the life, personality, and legacy of Empress Elizabeth or Sisi, one of the most mysterious and beloved figures of the Habsburg dynasty. Born in 1837, Elizabeth married Emperor Franz Joseph I at the age of 16 and became the Empress of Austria and later Queen of Hungary. The Sisi Museum displays over 300 personal items belonging to the Empress. Hofburg Courtyard serves as a link between the main sections of the Hofburg, including the Sisi Museum, Imperial Apartments, and the Austrian National Library. A statue of Emperor Francis I is located in the courtyard, as a tribute to the emperor who played a pivotal role in the reorganization of the Habsburg dominions during his reign in the early 19th century. The courtyard itself feels open and airy, a lovely place to pause and take in the architectural beauty. The mix of ancient stone walls, neoclassical facades, and modern touches makes it a fascinating space to explore. And the tranquility of the courtyard contrasts with the hustle and bustle of other areas in the Hofburg Palace, offering visitors a unique way to connect with the history of the place. Alright, it is now time to leave the palace and to head to our next destination. Just as a reminder then, Vienna, the capital of Austria, is the country's largest and most important city. It sits in the northeastern part of Austria, close to the borders of Slovakia, Hungary, and the Czech Republic. Vienna covers an area of approximately 415 square kilometers, making it one of the largest cities in Europe by area. It is home to about 2 million people, which is nearly 1/4 of Austria's entire population. Vienna is also one of the wealthiest cities in Europe, and the city has a GDP per capita of around 60,000 euros, making it one of the richest regions in the EU. Located in Maria-Theresien-Platz, just a short stroll from Hofburg Palace, is Vienna Maria-Theresien-Platz. The first thing that catches our eye is its asymmetrical tower, which was meant to be much taller, but due to financial constraints, was never completed. Its origins date back to the 13th century, when it was built for the Minorite, also known as the Franciscan monks under the rule of the Habsburg. Maria-Theresien-Platz is a charming square, paved with cobblestones and lined with stately palaces that now house Austrian government institutions, including the Federal Ministry for European and International Affairs. The Austrian Chancellery, where the Austrian Federal Chancellor's office is located, is also nearby, making Maria-Theresien-Platz a center of political power. Stepping inside the church, we are welcomed by a vast, high-vaulted nave, bathed in soft natural light filtering through stained glass windows. The church also houses several Gothic tombs, intricate wooden altars, and some of Vienna's oldest frescoes. It has long been a place of worship for Vienna Italian community, adding another layer of cultural significance. Let's walk around because inside this church, you can find a true masterpiece. The true masterpiece is an enormous mosaic replica of Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper, created in the 19th century by Italian artist Giuseppe Raffaelli. This incredible work of art is made entirely of colored stones and is so detailed that from a distance, it almost looks like a painting. The church's stone-grey facade gives it a slightly rugged, medieval feel, in contrast to Vienna's many Baroque-style churches. Leaving the church, we step back into Maria-Theresien-Platz, and from here, we continue our journey deeper into Vienna's historic core, making our way towards the next iconic landmark. We pass the Leopold-Fiegel-Denkmal, a tribute to Austria's first post-war chancellor, standing as a silent guardian of Vienna's political heart. With one hand raised, he holds the Austrian State Treaty, a symbol of Austria's regained independence after World War II. From here, we walk past the Federal Ministry of the Republic of Austria, housed in a grand historic building. This is the heart of Austrian politics, where major decisions that shape the country are made. The air feels weighty with significance, yet the surroundings maintain Vienna's timeless elegance. A short stroll away, we find ourselves at the legendary Café Central, one of Vienna's most famous coffee houses. As we approach, we're met with a long line of eager visitors waiting for their chance to step inside this historic establishment. Oh look, someone's car is being towed away. Continuing our journey through the narrow alleys, we soak in the charm of Vienna quieter corners. Away from the main streets, there's a different kind of beauty, which is a mix of hidden courtyards, old-world architecture, and small specialty shops. A few more steps bring us to Manufaktum, along Irisgrasu. And just next to it is the vast Armhof, a square that has witnessed centuries of imperial processions, military parades, and vibrant marketplace activity. At the center of the square stands the Mary's Column, a towering monument erected in 1667. And it was commissioned by Emperor Leopold I, as a sign of gratitude to the Virgin Mary, believed to have protected Vienna from Swedish forces during the 30 Years' War. A sense of grandeur fills the air, and today, Armhof is a peaceful yet stately space, where Vienna's rich past and refined elegance blend seamlessly. Turning our gaze to one side of the square, we find the Kirche Armhof, a striking Baroque-style church with an elegant white facade. Vienna is a city that wears its history proudly, yet seamlessly blends it with modern sophistication. Every street, every building, and every square tells a tale of emperors and artists, revolutions and resilience, tradition and transformation. And we have walked tens of thousands of steps so far, and spent dozens of hours, stitching together 1,000 video clips, to produce this 90 minutes movie. And as we wander through its imperial palaces, grand boulevards, and hidden alleyways, we begin to understand why Vienna remains one of the world's most enchanting capitals. This journey has taken us from the majestic Schönbrunn Palace to the charming streets of the Innere Stadt, from bustling shopping districts to quiet historical courtyards. Along the way, we have witnessed Gothic, Baroque, and Art Nouveau architecture coexisting in perfect harmony, just as Vienna itself balances its rich past with contemporary vibrancy. As we explore, we experience the contrasts that define Vienna, but what truly makes Vienna special is the way it makes you feel. It's a city where history isn't just something to observe because it's something you can walk through, touch, and experience. But don't go away just yet, because we are not done. We just walked through Bognergasse, where high-end boutiques line the streets, and we are now back at Grabben. Grabben is one of Vienna's most elegant and historic streets, right in the heart of the District 1. We were here yesterday night, and I promised you that we will return during the day. Once part of the Roman fortifications of Vindobona, it evolved into a bustling marketplace during the Middle Ages and later transformed into an exclusive shopping boulevard lined with luxury boutiques, grand buildings, and historic landmarks. We are walking past St. Peter's Catholic Church, and this is where we brought you yesterday, for a night of classical music. By day, the street feels lively yet elegant, a perfect contrast to the illuminated magic we saw last night. This broad, pedestrian-only avenue has been a center of activity since medieval times, evolving from an old moat into a vibrant shopping and social hub. One of the standout buildings here is Grabenhof, an ornate structure that dominates part of the boulevard. And I am sure you will recall the magnificent Plague Column, built to commemorate Vienna's survival of the Great Plague of 1679. And here it is. See if you can recall it. Flanking Graben's bustling promenade are two beautiful Baroque fountains, and the most popular one being Leopold's Fountain. You can see it here, and it honors Saint Leopold, the patron saint of Austria, depicted holding a model of a church. The other one is Joseph Fountain, and we walked past it earlier. This is Café Havelka, located in Vienna 1st District. And it is famous for its traditional Viennese coffee specialties and their signature Buchteln. The cafe's interior exudes authenticity, and it has maintained its bohemian ambience. We also walked here yesterday, and this is Stephansplatz, dominated by the towering St. Stephen's Cathedral. Do you still recall it? The square is always bustling with locals, tourists, street performers, and horse-drawn carriages, making it one of the most dynamic spots in the city. St. Stephen's Cathedral is Vienna's most famous landmark, and it has stood for nearly 900 years. The cathedral's striking patterned roof, covered with 230,000 colorful glazed tiles, is one of its most recognizable features. The South Tower stands at 136 meters, offering a breathtaking panoramic view of Vienna for those willing to climb its 343 steps. From here, we pass by House, a fascinating Art Nouveau building, on our way to see the Ankerua, an ancient clock that offers a mesmerizing spectacle as its figures move at the strike of every hour. And you will see it in a while, but before we wrap things up, I want to hear from you. Which part of Vienna surprised you the most? Drop a comment below and let me know. And if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, make sure you're subscribed, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss an adventure. And hey, if you loved Vienna, wait till you see Prague. Click the link at the end of this video to watch our journey through the fairytale city of 100 spires, and trust me, you don't want to miss it. And here it is, the Ankerua clock, one of Vienna's most fascinating timepieces, located in the Hoher Markt area. The real spectacle happens at 12 o'clock noon, when all 12 figures, including Emperor Marcus Aurelius, Charlemagne, and Empress Maria-Theresia, parade across the clock in a grand display. Hope you have enjoyed this video and see you in the next one.